Let's talk about pain, the kind that feels relentless. Sometimes people say, don't have a victim's mentality. But what about people that are not making it up? What about individuals that keep getting hit by life no matter what they do? What encouragement do we have for them? Before we dive into today's topic, I would love to introduce myself and my podcast. Welcome to Joy in Purpose podcast. My name is Lola. I have a doctorate degree in psychology with postdoctoral training in neuropsychology. Joy in Purpose is a platform for meaningful conversations about purpose, career development, and mental health. Just a quick reminder, this podcast is not a substitute for therapy. It's for educational purposes only. Thanks for joining me, and let's dive in. So imagine someone that is just going from one challenge to the next. Examples of life's constant blows include losing jobs despite giving one's best effort, betrayal from friends and family, from people that you should trust the most, mistreatment even when you're being kind and polite. Imagine someone that is going from one challenge to the next, one difficulty to the next, and they decide to be kind, to still be polite. And let's say, for example, they run into a cashier or a waiter that treats them rudely because that person is having a bad day or a bad moment. It can be frustrating for the person who just feels like life keeps getting difficult, this never ending storm, because they might feel like even when I'm trying my best, it's like I can't catch a break. It's like they can't catch a break. Life can feel like never ending storm. Imagine if this individual also maybe has a history of trauma. It can feel like darkness has become their closest friend. So what encouragement do we have for these people? What encouragement do we have when life keeps hurting? It's easy to feel stuck in the pain, but what next? As a believer, we have to keep believing. We have to stand on God's promises that says, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. He gives the oil of joy for mourning. Those are the type of scriptures that we should be meditating on. The Bible also let us to know that even the smallest faith, as small as a mustard seed, is powerful enough to grow hope. Hope is definitely needed. I want to look at the story of David in the Bible. David at Ziklag. After a battle, David and his men returned to the city. The city was destroyed by fire. Their wives and children were taken captives. The men that were with David, so David was their leader. The men that were with David, as you can imagine, they're human beings. Their city had been burned by fire. Their city had been burned. Their wives and children had been taken captive. Their souls were grieved. They were sad. This was devastating. You know what they did? They blamed David and they discussed about stoning him. But what did David do? Instead of being consumed by sadness, by doubts, by confusion, by despair, David encouraged himself in the Lord. He didn't stop there. David asked God for direction. Should I go after the enemy? Will I succeed? And what did God tell David? God told David, pursue, for you will surely overtake them and recover all. And that's exactly what happened. David could have been sad, could have felt lonely, because the people that should have been for him, in that moment they were against him. But David encouraged himself in the Lord. And we can encourage ourselves in the Lord by reading the scriptures and meditating on God's promises for us. So the lesson is that when you feel crushed by life, don't stay there. Seek God's guidance on what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. So that is definitely important, because maybe you've been making decisions just based on your logic, the next best step to take. And there's nothing wrong with that. God gave us our brain for a reason, but it's also important to seek God's direction and God's guidance, and pray until you pray through, not only until you get the vision, but until God tells you the next step to take. And that is very much possible. Be patient. Practical steps to keep moving forward. Be patient. Healing takes time, but it is coming. Healing is coming. Ask God for guidance, like we said earlier, about your next steps. This one is very important. The next one I'm about to talk about. Let go of the pain that is holding you back. And a lot of times, forgiveness is not just a one time decision. Sometimes we have to pray ourselves through to that point where you know that you're no longer carrying that burden of forgiveness anymore. And when you're forgiving someone, you know. Sometimes we can say the right things, we can say the right words, but when you have let it go, you know. And there are times where you have to pray your way till you get to that mind frame where you have truly forgiven somebody. And like I've mentioned in other episodes, forgiveness doesn't mean we don't set boundaries. But as Christians, as believers, forgiveness is definitely important. It is so important to put our grief in its place. Our grief matters, but it doesn't belong front and center. And not everyone deserves access to your pain. So it is important not to lead with our wounds, but to lead with hope that joy comes in the morning. Find joy and gratitude. Start small. Sometimes it might be difficult to find something to be grateful for, but even on days when nothing quote and unquote spectacular happened, you went to work and you came back, that is something to be grateful for. You had a nice conversation with your boss, that is something to be grateful for. It is important to also do things that you enjoy, such as maybe going to the museum, going for a walk, going to see a movie, going to a restaurant, spending time with friends and family. Those simple things in life would help put things in perspective, that not everything is going wrong, not everything not everything it will end badly, but there are certain good things about life that you can also enjoy. And definitely spending time with God, and spending time meditating the scripture, meditating on the scriptures is one of the things that you can do and truly enjoy. I really believe that. I want to encourage you by telling you that your joy is coming. You owe it to yourself to believe that better days are ahead. I know, like I said earlier, it might seem like darkness has become your closest friend, but it's so important to know that better days are ahead. You're not the only one that maybe life started out for you very rough. And I'm not minimizing anything that you've been through, but we serve a God of suddenly. It just takes one day, one moment for things to change around. And you need to keep the hope alive. You need to keep the faith alive. Remember that at the center of water, life can spring back up, and it will for you. So at the center of water, just have faith as small as a mustard seed, and you know that life can change. Things can change for the better for you. Do not be discouraged. Life won't always hurt. The God who brought David through Ziklag will bring you through as well. Keep holding on. Your brighter day, your morning is coming. I hope you've been encouraged by this. I really wanted to share something because I know that sometimes it's not that people want to have a victim's mentality. It is that life is truly tough. Like they're truly trying their best and it feels like they cannot catch a break. One thing I want you to take from this episode: keep hope alive. Keep the faith. Trust me, God did it for Joseph in the Bible. He did it for David in this moment when his own men were thinking of stoning him. That's the equivalent of everything around you is against you. But David encouraged himself. David encouraged himself in the Lord. Be encouraged. Do not give up. And I would love to connect with you. My Instagram name handle will be in the show note. So please feel free to send me a DM or a comment on Instagram, and I would love to connect with you. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with friends and family who might benefit as well. Remember that you are valuable and there's purpose within you. Also, don't forget to rate and review the Joy in Purpose podcast on your favorite platform. It really helps us to grow. I am wishing you a wonderful day.